Hello, my name is Leah. Recently, I began selling myself on the internet. That's right, I started using Fiverr. Seriously though, I've been wanting to start doing freelance editorial work, and for me, I thought Fiverr was the best place to start. So today I am here to share with you how my first month on Fiverr went. I'm going to be going through all of my gigs, what sort of work that I did during the month, and at the end, how much I made compared to how many hours I worked and what my hourly and word count rates ended up being. So we got lots of charts, lots of graphs. First off, I ended up making 5 gigs to start off with. The first one was for beta reading, and this is the price chart that I had for that. I described it as being for an honest reader's perspective on the work with some notes and suggestions for improvement along the way. I noticed a lot of the thumbnails for gigs were text only, so I made this thumbnail in Canva just to add a face to the gig and have a little short description that people can see right off the bat and know exactly what this gig is about. I do think this photo is a little bit too casual, but I don't have good professional photos of myself, and the one that I do have I used for my profile picture, so I didn't want to use it again for the thumbnail. Plus the one in my profile picture is kind of low resolution, so if it was any bigger it would look kind of grainy. It already does kind of look grainy. But then I used this same thumbnail format for all of my gigs. I just changed the words and the descriptions, and then I used a green background for the gigs that have to do with novels and a reddish maroon background for the ones that have to do with screenwriting. Anyways, I only got one order for the beta reading gig throughout the month of January, which that order also happened to be my first order, and it was the first few chapters of their book. I think I am going to change this one a little bit as I move forward, just to make it a little bit more clear what it's about. I also don't think my description is as enticing as it could be, so I'm just going to reword that a little bit. The other book-related gig that I had was for developmental editing, and this one was by far my most popular gig out of all of them. This is the price chart for that one, and I described it as being a thorough edit of the developmental aspects of the story. I got 4 orders total for this gig. One was for about half of a book. 2 were very short projects, and then the 4th was a full-length novel. I'm pretty happy with the wording on this description, and clearly it was enticing people to order from me. But the biggest problem I was running into was my lack of control as a seller on Fiverr. When someone makes an order, the timer just starts as soon as they make the order, and there's no approval process in terms of me getting to say, yes, I will take this job. And there's really only 2 ways that Fiverr lets you kind of control how many orders you're getting. One of them is to go out of office, which means you're not allowed to get any new orders. And then the other is to put a limit on the number of orders on that particular gig. So for this one, I could have said I only want to have 2 active orders at a time. But the problem with this one for me is that the length of projects varies drastically, because I was doing stuff that's only the first few chapters of a book, which I can finish in a few days. And this gig is also for, an 80,000, 100,000 word novel, which takes a long time. So if I put a limit on I only want to have 3 active projects at a time, there's a big difference between those 3 projects being very short ones versus all 3 of them are full-length novels. This gig specifically is what kind of taught me that lesson, just because of the number of people ordering it and the overlap that was happening between projects as well. If you saw my writing vlog that I posted earlier this week, you saw that it really started interfering with my own work that I wanted to do. So I'm going to be resolving that by changing it to being custom orders only, because for those, someone has to message me and say, hey, this is the project, are you available? And then I'll give them a quote. Custom orders are also good because I don't have to go by increments of $5, which is what you have to do for the main Fiverr page. So that offers a bit more flexibility on my end and on the buyer's end. The last 3 gigs that I had were all for screenplays, so one of them was also for a developmental edit, but for scripts. This was the price chart on that. I didn't end up getting any orders on this one, though out of all of my screenplay related gigs, this one was getting the most clicks. So the fact that people were clicking on it but not ordering it kind of indicates to me that I need to rework some of the wording around this to make it a bit more enticing or clear on what it actually is. The screenwriting one with the second most impressions was my gig for script coverage, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically a sheet that summarizes the scope of a project that a writer can show a producer or an investor. It talks about like the location, the cost, any marketing angles that could be used, and gives like a summary of what the plot is about. I did end up getting one order for this, but I had to cancel it because of a family emergency, and this really hurt my completion rate. So Fiverr has a system where you have to meet certain requirements to move up a level as a seller. Right now I don't have a level because I just started, but this is where I'm at in terms of like my progress for all of those things. As you can see, I'm in the red for the completion rate. It looks like I'm about to be back to 90%, but because of how math works, I actually have to complete 5 more orders without canceling anything to reach 90%, which I need to complete another 5 orders to reach the 10 order minimum anyways, and make some more money to reach the income minimum as well. But back to the coverage gig, even though this one did get some attention, I think I'm going to end up deleting this gig. I would just rather spend my time doing story editing rather than script coverage. And then the last screenwriting related one was my formatting gig. This is the price table I had for this one. Out of all my gigs, this one got the least interaction, and again, I did not end up getting any orders from this one either. Honestly though, when I think about it, that kind of makes sense because software like Final Draft kind of formats it for you as you go. And when people see the word formatting, they might think, oh, my software does that for me. I don't need to hire someone to proofread or format my script. So I am going to rebrand this one a little bit because what I meant for it to be about wasn't necessarily formatting in terms of like margins and spacing and all that kind of stuff, although that is part of it. This one was supposed to be more about editing the way that screenplays are supposed to be written, because there is some information online that's kind of outdated in terms of what like industry standards are right now. And you know, producers seeing that from a new writer, that might turn them off of the script because it indicates that they're not like up to date on what the standard is. So I think I need to rebrand this gig as a proofread rather than formatting. But those are all the gigs that I had up for January and where I had them priced. So now we're gonna get into the juicy stuff. How much did I make? How many hours did I work? What was my pay rate? Prepare for some spreadsheets and graphs. So in my first month on Fiverr, I made, this is supposed to be me doing a drum roll. Never mind. I made $148 in my first month on Fiverr. It isn't a ton, but it is actually more than I thought I would make. Definitely not a sustainable wage though. I'm okay with this though, because my goal right now isn't necessarily to make money, it's to establish myself. So what I'm wanting out of this at the moment is to get good reviews so that I have that backlog of evidence that I am a good editor. I have my gigs priced so low right now because people are a lot more likely to take a chance on a new editor who's priced at like $20 versus $1,000. And as someone who is new, I don't want to scam people into paying more than I am worth. So this time right here, not only is it for getting good reviews, it's also for me to get some practice as well. And technically I actually made $185, but Fiverr takes 20% of all orders. So 148. But here is the breakdown for all of that. I changed all the actual client names into just project 1, project 2, just for privacy. The second one is the order that I ended up having to cancel, so I have that one crossed out. As I already mentioned, most of the orders I received were for developmental editing. I also tracked the word count of each project and how many hours I spent on each project so that at the end I could calculate not only what my hourly rate was, but also what my rate per word count is so that I can start to get a more standard way of pricing myself, which is where I get to the part that I was not expecting. Everyone that I completed an order for, except for one person, left me a tip, which felt very good. I was happy about that. The tips totaled $60, so for me that meant $48 after Fiverr took their 20%, which I have no problem with Fiverr like having a service fee for sellers because they are facilitating this whole transaction. I mean, 20% is kind of high, but I get it. I am a little bit annoyed though that they also take that out of tips because like that was extra money, you know, supposed to go to me, but it's fine. I'm fine. So I did end up including the tip as I calculated my rates. Clearly projects 4 and 5 were the ones that I made the best money for the work on, like an actual reasonable hourly wage. Wow, crazy. These were 2 of the very short projects, which they rush ordered and also gave me a tip for. And then every other project made me less than minimum wage, which again, the goal is not to make money, it's to get those reviews, and everyone has left me 5-star reviews so far. We love it. And then these were my per word rates. They're kind of all over the place because it depended on the length of the project and how much someone tipped, but I just wanted to get a baseline to start using a price per word rate and just sort of to switch to that method rather than having a flat rate for a range of words, if that makes sense. So just for funsies, I calculated what my hourly rate and what my per word rate would be overall if I didn't receive any tips. So this was what I was more expecting to earn from this amount of work. Again, love me making less than $2 an hour. And then this is the breakdown including tips. Technically, more than my hourly wage as a waitress. And then lastly, just out of curiosity, I wanted to calculate what I would have been making per hour / per word if Fiverr hadn't taken out their 20%. So here's that. It ain't that much different, but it is more than what I did make. In conclusion, I did a lot of work basically for free this month. If you're looking to start freelancing on Fiverr, obviously my experience isn't going to necessarily translate to the different sorts of services you can offer, but I thought it would be interesting to just give some insight on specifically how it was for me starting as a freelance editor. I'm definitely going to continue, and all things considered, I do think that Fiverr made it very easy for me to start doing this, which was the draw of me doing it this way rather than some of the other avenues there are for editors starting out. I didn't really have to do much work at all marketing myself other than just making the gigs because I just kind of got these orders. So that was a convenience that was very nice, and it sort of makes that 20% understandable. Maybe not entirely reasonable, but understandable. But if you would like to get more updates on my freelancing journey, let me know. I would be happy to share. I'm not going to be making one of these videos every single month because I think that would be a bit overkill. But if people are interested, I might do some check-ins now and then just to kind of update you on my progress. That's all I got for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.